Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. This video today, a really exciting video. I'm doing an overview of the BETOP C3 Fightpad. This is a PS3 controller. I've never heard of it before in my life. You've probably never heard of it until now. And I'm using this on PC for Street Fighter 6. I can tell you now, this is the best 6-foot fight pad I've ever used. I'm talking pads from Genesis / Mega Drive all the way to 2023. And this is the best 6-button fight pad. It even has 4 shoulder buttons, which is amazing. For what I want in a 6-button fight pad, I want 4 shoulders where I can map to R1 and R2. And you can do that on this pad. This pad is amazing. My favorite pad, and you guys probably know this if you follow me for a while, is the PS4 HORI Fighting Commander. They do an Xbox version, they do a Switch version, but that is my favorite pad, the one before the Octa. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best pad I've felt, given the selection of pads that I tried. And we're talking, I tried the Octa, I tried the Power Ray, I tried the Razor Rayon, I tried Thrustmaster, I tried the classic HORI 6-button fight pads. I've tried so many fight pads, and this definitely comes out on top. And the reason for it is the D-pad. The D-pad is amazing. Is it perfect? It's not perfect, but if you want to know more about the controller, keep watching and I'll give you a detailed and honest overview of what this pad is about. Wow, we've come a long way from those early fight pad videos. I can't believe the difference in quality from the old videos to where we are now. It's crazy. So anyway, welcome to the BETOP C3 PS3 fight pad. Never heard of it, as mentioned before, until recently. It's a video I've been meaning to do for a while now, but I haven't got around to it until now. This pad is very cool. So it's a simplistic fight pad, 6 buttons on the face. It has 4 shoulder buttons, an LB, LT, it has an RB and an RT. It doesn't have an audio jack. It has a circular D-pad. I really love this D-pad, but you already know that now. It has a turbo feature, but we're hardcore fighting game enthusiasts, so we're not interested in the turbo feature. The pad is very light. The HORI Fighting Commander that I've been using for the past 6 or 7 years, that weighs 157 grams. This pad weighs 116 grams, so there is a significant weight difference. This pad is a lot smaller also, so my hands are big, so they kind of engulf the pad. My thumb actually sits a little higher than I would want it to on the D-pad, but overall, in terms of the way the pad is structured, the placement of the buttons and the D-pad is pretty good. I've had some pads before where the D-pad's quite low. It just doesn't feel right for your hand. It's very awkward to hold, but this is nicely placed a bit higher up. Comparing the C3 to the HORI Fighting Commander, you can see the HORI is a lot wider. It's a lot thicker in terms of the side profile. The shoulder buttons on the HORI at the back are bigger as well. Even the face buttons, the 6 buttons on the front are actually bigger on the HORI. And in terms of placement, they're kind of spaced similarly to the C3. So there are similarities. But I would say in terms of the HORI Fight Commander, I actually prefer the shape of this one and the thickness of this one. It feels better for me and I guess the size of my hands. But the advantages of the C3 are the D-pad. The D-pad is just so good. I mean, if you compare it to the HORI D-pad, you've got a cross-shaped D-pad on the HORI. And it is sometimes difficult to feel the diagonals. Sometimes you can't always feel your executions on point on the HORI. I've always said that. And it was really the only down point or the only negative of the HORI fight pad. Still, in my opinion, one of the best fight pads ever. But with this pad, the C3, you really do feel your inputs. You know, the D-pad itself is very, how to explain it? It feels very light. You know, it feels like a floating D-pad. And you press and there's not much restriction, if that makes sense. On the HORI, you do get a lot of feedback, so it's quite hard. Sometimes you have to press quite hard on the pad, but on this pad you don't have to press quite as hard, and you can really feel your inputs, you know, whether it's a dash, whether it's, you know, it's quarter circles or it's half circle inputs. You can feel every input and every direction. And that's why I love the D-pad on this control pad. It really is that good. So regarding the buttons, on the face of the controller, the 6 buttons feel super solid. They don't wobble. There's like a little bit of movement, but they don't wobble too much. That's fine. They require just the right amount of force to press, so you can't accidentally press them, in my opinion, but you do get enough feedback against your finger to justify the press, so it's perfect. They feel really good, so you know when you're pressing them, but you don't get a situation where you press too gently. You don't get your button inputs. They are quite small, and I noticed this moving from the HORI Fighting Commander to this pad, but I've adjusted really quickly. I can get, my button presses, I know where the buttons are. If I need to press multiple buttons at once, it's no issue. My thumb can cover the 2 buttons at once. And they do have a nice sound to it as well. If you listen pretty close to the mic, there is a sound as well. I think the sound is important just to give you that extra indicator that you've pressed the button correctly, so you can hear the button being pressed. Same goes with the shoulder buttons. The shoulder buttons are very similar. They require some force to press, but not too much force. You won't accidentally press them unless you really lean. Even actually, if you really lean on them, you don't press them, so you can't accidentally press them. There is a nice feeling of feedback and sound. Again, if you listen in, shoulders have more of a clicky sound rather than a pressy sound, and they're consistent across all 4 buttons. They all feel and sound the same, which is really nice. My only gripe about the shoulders is they're a little small, so that may be an issue. You may get a misinput by pressing the wrong shoulder, but I don't think it's a major issue. I just think it's something to be wary of when going for your shoulder button inputs. One thing you could do on the HORI Fighting Commander, which you can't do on this pad, is you could map L3 and R3 on the HORI Fighting Commander. So the way I use this pad on Street Fighter 6, I have my lights here, my mediums here, my heavies here, and I use this shoulder button as my 3 punches, and this is as my 3 kicks. On the HORI Fighting Commander on Street Fighter 6, I had this button mapped to heavy punch and heavy kick simultaneously, and that would be my drive impact button. You can't do that on this pad. You can't map these any difference to what these buttons are. If you change this and this, it will change what these buttons are. So these buttons overlap, and that is a setting that's found here. So you can see here, sorry, you've got an LBT and an RBT. Flicking this will change the way the pad works. That now will give me the 4 shoulder buttons and these 4 buttons as the working buttons. These won't, well, they will function, but these will mimic what RB and RT do, which is these 2 buttons. But if you flip this to that setting, you then get the 6 button layout, and you get these buttons, these 2 shoulders at the top, which is my preferred method. I prefer having my 8 buttons here, my right hand focused on the 8 buttons, but these pretty much become redundant if you use that setting. Other settings you'll find on the reverse, you'll find left stick or D-pad. So that's where you've got, say, a PS4, PS3 pad, and you want to control the D-pad or the left stick. You don't really need this for fighting games, but this may be useful if you're having to navigate menus and you need to use the DualShock, the analog stick, rather than the D-pad. And you've got this toggle here as well. So this toggle at the top is for the machine that you're using. So this is PC 360. You've got PC there as well. I don't know what this setting is actually. I have no idea. It says BFM. Don't know what that stands for. And then you've got PS3 as well. So depending on what device you're using, you may want to flip it to different settings. I play on PC, so I've got it set to PC 360. That just seems to be what's working for me right now. Speaking of platforms, particularly compatibility, I've not been able to get this pad to sync with my PS4 Pro. Even with the PS4 on and a pad synced, if I try and join a session with this pad, that's with the switch set to PS3 mode, it doesn't seem to register. All the lights light up and nothing happens. So I do think you need a converter to use this pad on PS4 and PS5, but even then, that's only an assumption. I haven't successfully tested it yet. The best converters to get are the Brook Wingman FGC converters, and there is one for the PS5. Now, the PS5 version, the website does list a number of devices that's supported, but the BETOP C3 is not listed, so I don't know whether it works yet. I am going to do my best to get to an event and bring my pad down and try using a PS5 and someone with a converter to see if it works. But as of right now, I can't confirm whether this pad works with the Brook in a PS5. So this really at the moment is only for people that want to use pad, but are also on PC. I can confirm it does work on PC, so be wary of that. So in terms of content, when you take out the box, you get some paperwork. It's not much, but you get like, I don't know what this is. Oh, it's like a warranty card, I think. Yeah, it's some kind of warranty thing. I think it's in Japanese. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like Japanese to me, not Chinese. So there's this, which is kind of cool. And then there's this. I don't know what this is. I'm talking absolute nonsense now. Yeah, QR code. I've not used it. But you get some stuff in there, which, you know, is nice. Nice to get some paperwork, whether you can read it or not. And then you get an additional D-pad. I don't know if you can see that. The light, trying to get the light on it to show the actual shape. But the D-pad, there's more emphasis on the up-down rather than the diagonals. I've not tested this myself yet because I'm so impressed with this D-pad, but you get that as well. So I haven't actually taken it apart to see how you attach it. Looks like you just slot it in and out, but I didn't want to break the pad. Early days. But yeah, you get that as well, which is kind of cool, and I will try that out at some point. But as of right now, I don't feel any need to change it. This D-pad, the stock D-pad, is amazing, purely because you've got every single input there and you can feel them. In terms of execution, moving from the HORI Fighting Commander to this pad on Street Fighter 6 has improved my execution. I did have issues on Street Fighter 6 inputting DPs, just getting quarter circle inputs, you know, doing gym rod juggles with Ken in the corner. But with this, it really has helped clean up my inputs. I'm really, really impressed. With that said, let's go into Street Fighter 6 now and let me show you some execution on this pad. So we're using Street Fighter 6 training mode to demonstrate some execution. I'll just do some random combos to show you how confident I am in the combos on this pad. I have got the pad display. It is the old HORI pad display. This will just highlight my inputs so you can see the buttons flash up pink when I press certain directions or certain buttons. So you will see that, which will help you with the combo routes I take. It's crazy. It's so good. You can just feel when you make an error on this pad, you can feel it, and that's what I love about it. On the HORI, I was sometimes unsure. I'll be wondering why I didn't get my move or why I got a certain situation. I'd really be questioning whether it was, you know, the pad or myself. With this, I've been using the pad for about a month straight, and anytime I don't get an anti-air, anytime I drop a combo, I can feel the input's not right, and I love that about this pad. I'm just so impressed. I'm just really, really impressed by it. So that is it, guys. My detailed overview, my honest overview of the BETOP C3 fight pad. It's taken me a long time to find a pad that comes even close to rivaling the HORI Fighting Commander, and this pad has not only rivaled it, it's surpassed it. It's such a good controller. In some ways, I wish I'd found this pad during my Street Fighter 5 days, because I've tested this pad on Street Fighter 5 and it's really good on Street Fighter 5, let alone Street Fighter 6. Like I said, at the moment, I don't know if it works on PS5, so that may not be good if you're an offline player or if you have a PS5. But I'm hoping I can answer that question in due time. But don't sleep on this pad. If you are a pad player and you want a good 6-button pad, this is so good. One thing I will say is about controllers. I have a lot of questions about controllers on the channel. Don't assume that choosing a certain peripheral will fix your input issues. You need to play on what you feel more comfortable on. If you feel more comfortable on stick, if you feel more comfortable on hitbox, if you feel more comfortable on pad, then you should stick to what you're best at. You can move to other devices and build that muscle memory up. I do agree that can be done. And pad is really good for games like Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6. But yeah, don't just assume that changing device will make you a better player. It doesn't work like that. You've got to put the time in. For me, I've always been a pad player, so pad makes sense for me, and it's good on the games that I play. So keep that in mind when it comes to buying new controllers and looking at other types of devices. Any questions or queries, guys, give me a shout as always. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.